Alright, I'm Mark Crowley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. I'm going to try to zoom in here on the face of this girl, Miki, or kind of a variation on the way I draw Miki. For the beginning of this video, because I'm going to start out by coloring the flesh tones. And the marker I'm using is Pantone Tria, I think is the two names that you'll find on this marker, 162-T. And this is a great marker for doing flesh tones. You can really just use it straight out of the pen, and it will come out looking pretty much, at least for me, the way I want a flesh tone to be. Not too light, not too dark. It starts a little dark and then it dries out pretty quickly and gets to where I like it to be. So there's a little tip for you if you've been using, I don't know, colored pencils or watercolor to do flesh tones. You can give this marker a try. Once I'm done with this, I'm probably going to put it on a pause and pull back to do more watercolor work. I know I have to watch myself with all these ums and uhs. It's terrible. When I talk, I just tend to say and a lot, and I know it can be quite irritating, so please forgive me for that. There, I did it, even while I was apologizing. So let's stop this now, and I'll go back and do some of the watercolor work. So I've pulled back just a little, and I'm getting ready to do the hair. I've pulled out a scrap piece of paper here to kind of test the coloring and make sure that I'm getting the color the way I want before I go for the real deal. I think this is about the right shade of brown that I want, so now I can jump in here and start to do the actual coloring with the watercolor. I know a lot of people prefer using Photoshop to color illustrations in, and to be sure there are lots of advantages to doing that, but I figured there's already lots of videos showing that kind of thing, maybe not so many showing watercolor techniques. Not that I'm an expert on watercolor, but one thing that you have to keep in mind when doing watercolor is to try to keep it light. Don't start putting in really thick watercolor that has almost no water in it, you know, that turns into kind of like a gouache is what they call that, kind of opaque paint. You don't want to be doing that with watercolor. At least most watercolorists would tell you that. In any case, I remember years ago in college I was told that you have the chance with watercolor to do about 3, maybe 4 layers. That the more you go in and keep working on top of a layer of watercolor, the more you will kind of muddy it up and kill it. So go light, which gives you the chance to do darker layers on top of that. And then just know when to stop, I suppose, is the best advice that you can give. Watercolor is really a tricky thing. I'm not that great at it, and you'll see that I resort to using colored pencils and other things to kind of assist me, to help me get the final effect that I want in an illustration. But I wanted to show this part with me doing the hair in real time, and I think what I might do is do the rest of the coloring in time-lapse, and we'll move on to the next stage. Now already you can see that this is not as smooth and even a tone of color as I would probably like, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'm going to let it go for now and see if we can resolve that later on. So let's kick it into time-lapse, pull back, and do the rest of the sort of first layer of watercolor. Alright, well I've zoomed in again to go in and do a second layer of brown on the hair here. And I think this is going to be it for me, really, in terms of layering watercolor on the hair. I think 2 layers is as far as I want to push it, or I think I'm going to lose the beauty of the watercolor. So I just thought I'd do this one in real time again to let you see a little of the detail work. What I'm doing is really fairly unusual, maybe among illustrators, adding the color before doing inking. And I maybe have explained this on one of my other videos, but I think it's probably worth stating again. The reason that I do this is I want the watercolor, I want the color to be a fundamental part of the illustration. I don't want it to be an afterthought. And I think if you just do an ink drawing first, that ends up being the real star of the show, the line work, and then the color maybe comes in at the end of the day to sort of pretty things up or whatever. I want in my pictures to have the color really be at the heart of the drawing and not just be an afterthought. I don't want it to be sort of like in a, in a coloring book where you have all these lines and then you just go and fill them in. So that's my thinking, and it is fairly unusual. And before anybody says, dude, you are holding your brush so strange. I'm doing this just because I'm trying to keep my hand from blocking the picture in the video screen. So anyway, I've left a little blank spot here to suggest the highlight of the hair. I think I might, while I'm in here, I suppose this might really count as a kind of a third layer, but just add in a few more darker spots. Oh my goodness. And here I am dabbing this away with just a piece of tissue. That's a little tool for you if it's too dark the first time you go in. You can always dab it away, so long as it hasn't dried yet, with a bit of tissue. So I'm adding in just a little bit of a darker tint here at the bottom edges, just to kind of suggest three-dimensionality, I suppose, to the hair. But I am not going to go crazy with delineating every strand of hair. Certainly some people do that and do it very well, and I try for it myself sometimes, but I'm not going to be doing it on this illustration. I'm going to try to keep it simple. So let's stop with that, and I will do the rest of this sort of second layer in time-lapse.